Hi, thanks, Jan. I think both Andreas and Jan really made great presentations on what the network is. I'm not going to go too much into it. First of all, I must thank Tim and the rest of the iCMLf group for really choosing patient advocates to receive an award in a hematologist meeting. This is not something that we take for granted. Tim, I don't remember if you remember, it was ASH in San Francisco. I think that was the first ASH I attended 14 years ago. The late John Goldman and you and Jan and me had a meeting, sat in one of the cafes in one of the hotels next to ASH. We sat for about an hour, and you told us that you plan to start an iCMLf foundation for doctors to help and improve the outcome of CML patients in low and middle income countries, and how can we collaborate? And look how much we have gone together since that time, 14 years ago. I'm going to present to you, we talked about real-world evidence, so I'm going to present some data, recent data that we did a study in Israel about patients' perspective on cure. And I chose these pictures because this is another example of a collaboration. I don't know if Frank is still here, but this is a picture when Frank came to Israel and he gave a talk to our patients. And he's not the only one. Quite few of you who are here or are not here anymore here, like Tim, Andreas, my friend, who came and spent 3 days with us in our annual meeting, Dragana, the same, and many more, Jeff, and Francois Mahon, and Gian Antonio Rosti, and many, when they come to Israel, we take this opportunity when we ask them to come to speak to our patients, they always agree, and it's a great opportunity for our patients to learn some new things. So I'm going to present, this is my disclosure, and they say, there's a saying that one picture is worth 1,000 words. So I think if you ask me as a patient, what is my perspective on cure, I think this picture will give my answer. This picture was taken last month for World CML Day, 22nd of September. And naturally, we all know why is it. And you know, when I was diagnosed almost 23 years ago, I was 48, my oldest son was, I had 4 children, my oldest son was 15. And when I understood that I can expect without TKI, because it was a pre-TKI area, I can expect 3-4 years to live, I never thought and dreamed that I'll get to see grandchildren. But thanks to the research and thanks to the new drugs, I'm here 23 years later, and I have 7 grandchildren, amazing one, and the 2 joined the family this last year. And if you ask me, is this cure for me? Of course it's cure for me. For me personally, I'm 8 years on TFR without treatment, and I can enjoy everything I wanted to do in life. So as an individual patient, for me, no question, this is a cure. But many of you heard me talk at this meeting and other meeting, and say and tell you guys that this is not enough. TFR is a good option, but it's not enough because there are still challenges, and you all know this meeting is all about the challenges that still CMA patients are facing. So that's why we did this study, and I want to thank my friend Francois Mahon and others who developed the TFR as a practical cure. But please remember that TFR is available for only 25% of CML patients in the Western world, where monitoring, close monitoring is available. But if we take this for the rest of the CML patients around the world, and we look how many CML patients from the global world can stop treatment today and reach TFR, we are talking about less than 10%. So we need to think about the rest of the 90%. So what we did a study. I have 500 plus patients in my group in Israel. We send them the link to a questionnaire we developed. Almost 300 answered. The data collection was done beginning of March in less than 3 weeks. The average duration of response 40 minutes. 2/3 answered from mobile and 1/3 answered from the computer. If you look at some of the demographic of the participants, 53% were male, 47 female. You can see that the mean age was 57. 46% were older than 60, 40% between 41 to 60, and there were 14 younger patients, CML patients less than 40. You see that half of them were employed, majority, 86%, were married, and you can also see that 80% were on treatment. 5% of those were patients who tried to stop but had to restart because of reoccurrence. And the duration of the time since diagnosis, 50% were more than 8 years, and the rest are splitting between them. When we looked at the type of medication they were on, you can see that imatinib was still the main treatment, almost 40%, 1/3 on dasatinib, nilotinib 12%, bosutinib 10%, and 2% on ponatinib and asciminib. Asciminib is not yet registered in Israel. It's being submitted now for 2023, but the company has an early access program for patients in need. So let's look at some of the data that what is the perceived severity of the disease and quality of life for CML patient. And we checked it for patients who are on treatment and patients who stopped. And you can see, and I'll have to come here to see better. You can see that patients who have discontinued treatment report significantly lower rate of suffering from the adverse events of the treatment. 61%, you can see in the dark blue on the right, those are patients who discontinued, compared to 37 patients who are on treatment. Very similar results were when I asked the patient to evaluate the quality of life. You can see patients who are off treatment, 59% of them report a better quality of life compared to 42% of patients who are on treatment. Another interesting data, if you look at the middle, you see that 42% of the patient reported high quality of life and 41% reported moderate. Together, it's more than 80% of the patients who reported either moderate or good quality of life. When we ask the patient what is the most important expectation they expect from the treatment, so you see the most important for patient is to prevent the progression of the disease to a life-threatening stage. There are, of course, other expectations, but this is by far the most important. So we ask the patient to define what is cure for them, and you can see here that there is no one clear answer, but 84% of the patient said that one type of TFR, either with monitoring or without monitoring, but to have a confidence that the disease will not reoccur, a TFR for them is a practical cure. So that's clear answer from the patient perspective. You can see also that there is 16% of the patients who are willing to take a drug once or twice daily, and for them, and have a normal quality of life, and for them it's also a practical cure. We asked the patient, well, how important is it for them to be defined as someone who is cured? You see that for 88% of the patient it's important. It's more important for female, and it's more important for younger patients. Also, when we ask, do you think the patient, if they think that cure is possible, you see that 82% of the patients think that it's possible, but only 57% of them think that the current medication they are taking will lead them to cure. We also ask what are the 3 most outcomes that the patient expects from a new treatment. And here you see that the most important outcome of new treatment for CML, from the patient perspective, it must be a cure. It is much more important than other important goals like less side effects, the ability to stop treatment. So this is the most important thing for patients. So, in summary conclusion, I will not go back to all I mentioned. I just look at the 2 conclusions. CML patients today have rather good quality of life compared to other cancers. We know that. But if we only can overcome the challenges that still exist and give them the hope that cure will be here in the future, I think it will be optimal. And last thing, it is something personal for me, not from the survey. I estimate that it will be more and more difficult to raise funding and support for CML research in the future, which means that we'll have to double our efforts, all of us, you and us, and we'll have to strengthen our collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giora and Jan, for your presentations and, of course, for your work, and congratulations to the awards.